Are you getting enough physical contact? A basic human need by Peter Gerlach. It's the lesson 1.42 from Breakthecycle. This article offers perspective on interpersonal touching, caressing, hugging, kissing, and handshakes. An inventory to help you judge if you are getting enough healthy touch and practicing options for initiating, enjoying, and getting friendly touching. This lesson 4, this is a article is meant to raise your interest and self-awareness rather than aiming to be comprehensive exploration of a complex, controversial topic. It can be especially useful for people committed to patiently reducing their psychological wounds and improving their relationships. The article assumes that you are familiar with the introduction to the self-improvement website and the premises underlying it. The self-study lesson 1, perspectives on personal awareness and human needs. Perspective. Most all children develop. Experts agree that the newborns and infants need frequent, soothing human skin-on-skin contact thrive. Do you agree? Many critics of bottle feeding feel that deprives babies of some essential physical contact with their mother's warmth and skin. Whether a young child gets enough spontaneous versus dutiful or strategic hugs, caresses, and kisses, or can affect their evolving personality and identify, for example, I'm not visible, touchable, lovable. Touching is one of the many variables that determine whether a growing child's development needs are met well enough and often enough. Touch means something. Spontaneous physical contact between two people in an exchange of implied or assumed semi-conscious messages, meanings like this: I acknowledge your existence and presence. I am aware of you now. I feel appreciation and affection and or love and or desire for you now. It's so good to see you. I'm glad you and I are together now. I've enjoyed you and our time together. I like, love, respect, approve, care about you now. I see to ease your pain. I want to ease your pain. I want to make contact with versus avoid you now. I am sexually attracted to you. Thank you for. Add your own messages. These messages are semi-consciously decoded along with those from facial expressions, eye contact, words, voice dynamics, and body language. If two or more of these simultaneous communication variables don't match, it's possible to decode a confusing double message. Some kind of touching, for example, I love you, get away from me. This is especially likely if the toucher and or touchee is controlled by several conflicted personality subselves. I like you, you disgust me. Well, it also means that there is an imbalance of the feminine and masculine energy. Toxic touching. The examples above are all positive. For example, they can enhance self-esteem, trust, intimacy, and relationships. Other perceived touch messages can be toxic. They can shame, chastise, scare, worry, confuse, promote, distrust, hurt, or lower respect. All physical abuse centers clusters imply toxic messages like I enjoy hurting you, I don't care about or respect you, I want you to feel me, I don't care about your feelings, you are bad or inferior to me, you are invisible, a non-person. Spontaneous versus tragic physical touching usually happens without conscious awareness or implied message like this. Note that each person may interpret local and chronic touching differently, depending on their history, experience, inner rules, whether they are guided by true self or other personality subselves. People governed by a false self are prone to distort reality without knowing it. So they may read some meaning into a hug, caress, kiss, or wasn't intended or felt by the other person. People never outgrow their primal need of nourishing physical contact. Do you agree? Socially and physically isolated adults and kids can become unconsciously touch-starved, though they are usually unaware until someone touches them. Some touch-starved people will endure harsh or demeaning physical contact to slake their sensory hunger. If they do, they feel guilty and or shame without understanding why. Do you know anyone like this? Family rules and attitudes. All home families and organizations develop complex rules and attitudes about people touching each other. Shoulds, musts, supposed tos, and oughts. The rules are often unspoken and are a mix of each adult's ancestral values and traditions about hugging, caressing, kissing. The rules can vary by age, gender, situation, and social role. For example, relatives should always kiss each other on the cheek when they meet and say goodbye. Hugs are okay only if someone is fully clothed. Full-body hugs are not acceptable. Sisters can kiss each other, but brothers shouldn't. Adult male family members can hug young and older female relatives, but not female teens unless teens initiate it. It's okay to shake hands or pat relatives on the back, but no hugs or kisses. We can hug and kiss each other for birthdays, reunions, holidays, but no other times. Females can hold hands, but males should not. You shouldn't breastfeed your child in public. You should never hug your co-workers in public. If you hug someone, always pat them on the back as you do. Sexual touching should be private and only between committed heterosexual partners. Painful touching, for example, slapping, twisting, punching, pinching, is wrong and bad. You should never or always spank a child bare bottom. We should never talk about our family rules about physical contact. Personal and group rules can be about A. Initiating personal touch, B. Inviting touch, C. If how, when to react to it. There is a usual special subset of each of these dealing with sensual and sexual touching. By the way and how you define sensuality, does that always imply sex? Or do you see it as describing a healthy sensitivity to any kind of tactile stimulation? People and families can change from a very touchy-feely, lots of emotioning and spontaneous touching to very cold, unemotional, formal, polite, and reserved. Young kids learn rules and attitudes like this over time from observing adults. Behavior more than direct teaching. The rules evolve from touch responsible like smiles, giggles, signs, fawns, growls, flinches, squalls, slaps, and face and body language. Society, local culture, and the media silently shape kids' and adults' attitudes and behavior rules about physical contact. Few people in our hyper-stimulated culture and your family are aware of this rule formation process. Does this rule idea make sense to you? If so, pause and reflect. Name some of the rules about physical contact that govern your early childhood home and family. Then identify some of the rules that govern your present relationships. What do you notice? Psychological wounds and touch disorders. The A. Primal need for physical contact. B. Asserting this need or not. And C. Responding to touching, all affected by psychological wounds in child and or adult. This effect adds to the rules and attitudes about touching they have learned. Significantly wooden people can have little or no need for touching, numbness, exaggerated needs for it, or trouble initiating, reacting to it, and decoding it. For example, shame-based people can ignore or despise their needs for touching because they feel unlovable. This is especially likely if the adults that raised them were cold, emotionally unavailable, and non-physical wounded. Guilt-based kids and adults feel their needs for or enjoyment of pleasant touching is selfish, wrong and bad. They can also feel anxious or uncomfortable at their own urge to touch other people's stuff at times. These usually reflect the perceived rules that they are raised with. Fear-based people can be inhibited from initiating interpersonal touching of fear of intruding, offending, and being rejected. Conversely, especially needy, insecure kids or adults can touch others too, often and or inappropriately to gain friendship or approval. Grown-women children, GWCs, who significantly distorted reality, can be stressed by misinterpreting A, if and how other people touch them or don't, and or B, how others seem to react to being touched. They may occasionally or chronically assume sexual meanings to non-sexual contacts, promoting confusion, stress, distrust, resentment, and avoidances. People unable to trust wisely may discount or reject soothing touching as being some sort of ill-intentioned manipulation. Alternatively, they may interpret strategic or dutiful touching as genuine. Severely wounded people may be unable to feel, empathize, and bond with some of all other people. This may mute their longing for and responsiveness to physical touch. If they aren't touched or appropriate or often enough as a child, they may not comprehend that they are missing or they other people need. Typical wooden people are unaware of their childhood's family rules about touching, and they idealize and distort them. Before true wooden reduction, they often say and believe, "I don't have any wounds or problems with physical contact." Note that some wounded people partially satisfy their needs or companionship and touching by owning pets, especially furry ones. Of course, not all pet owners are psychologically wounded. Also note that touching someone else may satisfy your own need for physical contact, but may not satisfy your need for emotional messages that we decode them when someone wants to hug, kiss, or caress us. Some wise person has noted, each of us is only person who can give to another what each of us needs to get. Another factor affecting interpersonal contact is personal space. Personal discomfort arises for many people, including you, if another person gets too close to them in social situations. The English term for this is my comfort zone. The radius of each person's zone depends on the number of semi-conscious factors like gender, self-image, fear of the unknown, other relationship, and or familiarity with the invading person, and similar cultural rules. In social situations, each person has a baseline comfort zone and senses non-verbal cues, like body language, facial expressions, and movement approach retreat to go to other person's zone. Physical contact depends somewhat on whether each person's comfort zone allows the other to enter it. Permission to enter depends on the type of contact. For example, handshake may be acceptable or welcome, but not a hug or kiss. Culture can vary significantly in socially accepted comfort zones. For example, some societies like Italy and Greece treat physical closeness as normal and affectionate social touching as expected. Avoiding physical closeness and or contact can be interpreted as an insult or aloofness. In a contrast, some cultures like China, Japan, Scandinavia, England, and Germany promote keeping the respectful distance from other people, with obvious exceptions like doctors, mothers, kids, and formal greetings. Now learn something about yourself with this. Touch inventory. Get a quiet, undistracted, and reflect on these statements. Notice your touches and emotions as you do. T for true enough, F for seldom, and never true, and question mark, I'm not sure, it depends on what, or something else. Options. A. Print this inventory for later review and or sharing, and or B. Retake this inventory after some time has passed to see if anything has changed. This can be especially useful if you are committed to reducing psychological wounds. 1. I am usually aware of my need in physical human contact. 2. On a scale from 1, low, to 5, high, I would rate my recent need of pleasant physical touch as a 3. I can name the key unspoken rules about kissing, caressing, and hugging in my childhood homes and families. 4. The females who raised me were comfortable with normal physical contact. The males who raised me were comfortable with normal physical contact. I can name the key unspoken rules about kissing, caressing, and hugging in my current home family. I am usually comfortable hugging about family members, family preteens, family teens, male friends, female friends, people of a different race or color, disabled and elderly people. I am usually comfortable kissing adult family members, family preteens, family teens, male friends, female friends, people of a different race and color, disabled and elderly people. 9. I am comfortable initiating physical contact with most people. 10. I am usually comfortable with being touched by most people. I am clearly aware of the difference between sexual and non-sexual touching. I am socially open and confident with most adults and kids, versus being shy, reserved, and withdrawn. 13. People who know me would better describe me as warm and open versus cold, inhibited, and closed, unapproachable. 14. I am rarely and never embarrassed, critical, or annoyed by people making non-sexual physical contact in public. 15. I feel spontaneous versus dutiful affection for the young people in our family. I like to express that physically. 16. I am clearly aware of my interpersonal comfort zone and I know how to adjust if needed. 17. I know how to express my needs for physical contact clearly without guilt or anxiety. 18. I know how to express my boundaries about physical contact clearly without guilt or anxiety. 19. Touchy-feely people and groups are normal and okay. 20. I am usually comfortable enough with my body, face, personal odor, and appearance. 21. I am usually comfortable with playful touching, clicking hair, mussing, wrestling, etc. with special people within limits. 22. I don't need to hire someone to touch me like a massage therapist. 23. Completing this inventory has been a pleasant experience. 24. I am comfortable showing this inventory to others and discussing it with them. 35. Most people who know me would say I fill this inventory accurately. Option. Review an inventory and star and highlight items you want to reflect that change. Right now, I'm aware of. Something I want to do now is, if you are significantly uncomfortable with giving or receiving physical contact and you need more touching in your life, consider this. Options. 3 common reasons of these touching problems and most others are inherent psychological wounds and unawareness and ignorance, lack of knowledge. Once these problems are understood and acknowledged, each of them can be significantly reduced over time. To do so, commit to studying lesson 1 to 4 to this non-profit self-improvement course. This will yield many benefits over time, not just reduce physical contact problems. Trouble initiating physical contact. If you can become more comfortable and spontaneous with touching other people, if you identify and update any inherent family and cultural rules that inhibit friendly, non-sexual touching. For example, I'm not supposed to touch anyone, adults, males, females. Accept that your personality is composed of a group well-meaning of sub-selves, which control your thoughts, emotions, perceptions, and needs. Check your attitudes about the other person. If you don't feel genuine affection, respect, equally trust, and admiration for them, accept that you probably have no motivation to touch them spontaneously. Use parts work to explore whether you are controlled by a scared inner child, that she or he may fear that touching others will offend or annoy them, be misinterpreted or cause some conflict, and or a number sub-self who guards you against feeling emotions like affection, and or by inner critic who was taught to believe that touching other people is weak, sissy, or childish. Ask, can I give you a hug? And you can. Note if people seem uncomfortable with you touching them, or you can ask for feedback. Does my touching bother you? And or be considered that the person may have inherent rules and or wounds that cause them discomfort. In other words, realize that the problem is in them, not you. Watch for a change to discuss physical contact, likes, values, and rules with adults and kids you are hesitant to hug, caress, or kiss. This may shift your attitude and behavior with them. More options. Discomfort receiving physical contact. This discomfort can come from a shamed inner child who feels unworthy of acknowledgement, comfort, or affection. This common sub-self may also have been taught to feel disgusting with other perceived body image, and friendly touches remind them of this. Another possibility is the discomfort comes from abused inner child who associates physical contact with pain. This is especially likely for adults who were sexually abused as child. Another possibility is that the git inner child believes that enjoying physical contact is someone selfish, bad, or wrong. A third possibility is that one or more of your spontaneity sub-selves associates more or more touching with unwanted, shameful, and or unpleasant sexuality. There are other possibilities. Consider using patchwork to see if any of these normal personality parts and their guardian sub-selves may be promoting your discomfort. If so, negotiate with them patiently to change and reduce their discomfort. Get more physical contact. Pause and reflect. How often do you experience pleasant physical contact with adults or kids? Would you like more? If so, what's the way you are getting it? Consider these options when your true self is guiding you. Experiment with patting, stroking, handshaking, hugging people you like and appreciate. If you are not used to doing this, it may feel phony and contrived at first. Do it anyway and be aware that the other person's reactions they may reciprocate unless they are wounded and uneasy. Ask for hugs when you need them. If you do, be aware of being spontaneous paradoxes. These occur when you ask for or demand something that can only be given spontaneously. For example, I want you to want to touch me more often. Give other people's responsibility for managing their own comfort levels if you ask for friendly touching. When people touch you pleasantly, affirm that, for example, you're patting me on my back, hugging me, kissing me feels really good, thanks. Be aware of your handshake. People are generally turned off by limp, weak, grown, crushing, and prolonged grips. They are also more apt to respond and initiate handshakes if you are spontaneous versus polite or dutiful. Review your childhood rules about holding hands with adults and kids. If they were inappropriate or inhibiting, experiment with new rules. Periodically raise everyone's awareness by talking openly with friends and families about physical contact. For example, likes and dislikes options. Give selected people a copy of this article and refer them to it and promote discussion and awareness. Did you realize you had so many options? Recap. This lesson This article explores the primal human needs for physical contact with each other, starting in infancy. Getting enough pleasurable touching is an important part of reducing psychological wounds and improving personal contentment. The article aims to raise your awareness of physical contact in general way in your life, rather than trying to be a comprehensive exploration if it offers perspective on interpersonal touching, caressing, hugging, kissing, and handshaking. An inventory to help you to become aware of physical contact in your life and relationships and practical options for initiating, enjoying, and getting more friendly touching. Thank you very much for listening to me. Comment, like, subscribe, hit the bell button. For requests, consultations, and donations, the email is down below. Leave your experiences on your comments. Thank you very much and have a nice day. Bye.